Wayne Rooney was an absolute monster in his prime, and it's such a bummer to see that Rooney, at his very best, might go down in history as one of the most underappreciated footballers. But not everyone might agree with that statement, so I guess we need to put Rooney's career into perspective to see just how good he was in his prime. Back in 2002, Rooney wasted no time in making a name for himself at Everton, after scoring a last-minute winning goal against Arsenal to end the Gunners' 30-match unbeaten run. 17-year-old Rooney became the youngest goal scorer in Premier League history at the time. The signs were auspicious, and we knew that the kid was on his way to the top. By the summer of 2004, Rooney had already submitted a transfer request to the Toffees, who also happened to be in a dire financial situation. The result at the end of the day, an initial £20 million deal plus an additional £7 million. Although it was the highest fee ever paid for a player under 20 years old, Sir Alex Ferguson saw something in the kid, and he didn't mind if the move raised many eyebrows. Rooney scored 17 goals in his first season at Old Trafford, which was the same number as the goals scored in his 2 seasons at Everton. At that point, if you asked who was going to be the better player between Rooney and CR7, most people would have gone for Rooney. Although Rooney won back-to-back PFA Young Player of the Year awards in his first 2 seasons at Manchester United and reached double figures for goals in the league, we were yet to see the best version of him. Rooney continued to adapt to a team that had Cristiano Ronaldo, who was on his way to becoming the best footballer in the world. Now, there happens to be some controversy in the footballing world about what we could call Rooney's prime. Many fans say that between 2007 to 2012, Rooney was at the absolute peak of his powers. A few others beg to differ, saying that Rooney's peak didn't come until 2009. But for what it's worth, here's how we best remember prime Wayne Rooney. Starting with perhaps one of the most underrated parts of his game, Rooney always contributed immensely to the defense. Known for his excellent trackbacks, Rooney had an insane work rate, which isn't something you often see with many attackers these days. We could also talk about his versatility in the team. After inheriting that number 10 shirt, which was last worn by Ruud van Nistelrooy, we saw the Englishman continuously take up different positions on the pitch. He could play as an attacking midfielder, striker, central midfielder, sometimes even on the right wing, and yet you would get a world-class player in Rooney in those positions. He was also great at getting everything out of his teammates, and it was difficult to mark him down as he was all over the pitch. You had to see it to believe it. Rooney could be chasing a counterattack or trying to make a clearance, only to be at the other end of the pitch 30 seconds later to finish up his team's counter. Unfortunately, or depending on how you see it, this tactical flexibility coupled with his selflessness meant that he could never become the main man with Ronaldo in the team. According to some fans, this stopped Rooney from achieving his full potential at the time, as Ronaldo stole all the limelight. However, true football fans know just how valuable Rooney was alongside Ronaldo during their time together. Rooney had the most assists in the league in the 2006 and 2007 season, and you could already guess who the beneficiary was for most of those assists. Rooney's best position, however, seemed to be behind the striker in a free role high up the pitch. Here, he could stay involved in attacks and be a link player between midfield and attack. Essentially, he could be like Scholes, although not apples to apples, in terms of link-up play, and then at the same time be as good as CR7 at finishing. Perhaps he wasn't exactly known for dribbling a lot, Rooney's speed on the ball was great for a stocky guy like him. He had the physical to hold off defenders and keep possession. On top of that, he had the vision and range of passing to make defensive splitting passes and set teammates up for easy goals. And don't even get me started on his shot power and rooting ability. No one can forget that spectacular overhead kick against Manchester City. Although that was the best of the bunch, we also saw Rooney score many spectacular goals, including volleys, headers, long-range strikes, and everything in between. Let's just say Rooney was a force of nature and was unreal at his peak. Between the 2006 and 2007 season and the 2011 and 2012 season, Rooney scored over 100 Premier League goals for the Red Devils, making him one of the most prolific goal scorers in his generation. We saw him score from inside his own half for Manchester United, Everton, and even DC United later on in his career. He also had respectable numbers from free kicks and penalties. Rooney won 5 Premier League titles, an FA Cup, 3 League Cups, the Champions League, and the Europa League with Manchester United. For a significant part of his career, Rooney was a big game player who contributed immensely to his team's success. On a personal level, Rooney won the Premier League Player of the Season award for the 2009-2010 season and was in the PFA Team of the Year on 3 occasions, just to mention a few of his records. Rooney left United to return to the Toffees in the summer of 2017, leaving Manchester United as the club's record goalscorer with 253 goals. Rooney spent a year with Everton before joining MLS side DC United, where he played until his retirement in January 2021. To date, Rooney remains the only player to have scored at least 200 Premier League goals and provided at least 100 Premier League assists. That in itself shows you how difficult it is to compare Wayne Rooney to any other player that we've seen. He was one of the most complete players of all time and will certainly go down as one of the all-time greats in English football. Rooney was inducted into the Premier League Hall of Fame in 2022. But we also need to talk about how Rooney performed for England. Rooney was sometimes criticized for his performances for England, with some fans saying that he only played well in Manchester United. However, no one can deny what the former footballer contributed to the Three Lions squad. With 53 goals in 120 international appearances, Rooney was the highest goal scorer for England before being surpassed by Harry Kane. From a young age, Rooney demonstrated his leadership qualities. Over the course of his career, he would captain Manchester United and the England national team. But for some fans, there is still the feeling that despite everything he achieved in football, Rooney still didn't live up to his potential. He was never the perfectionist or workaholic that Ronaldo was, and on numerous occasions was accused of not taking time to look after his body as a footballer. Some pundits describe Rooney as the last of the street footballers, meaning that his style was raw, with pure instinct and aggression. Being a precocious talent early on in his career, Rooney was fast and agile in his youth, but having suffered from several injuries throughout his career, plus his weight issues, Rooney's speed and mobility began to dwindle later on in his career. United fitness coach Mike Clegg once stated that Rooney didn't see the importance of the gym. He'd say, "I'm here to play football." Another aspect of his game that was sometimes criticized was his discipline on the pitch. Rooney accumulated over 100 yellow cards and 3 red cards in the Premier League, and a couple more red cards for England in crucial games. Currently, Rooney is cutting his teeth as a young, inexperienced manager trying to do some great things. He was recently appointed as manager of Championship club Plymouth Argyle last month, and he'll be looking for some redemption after being sacked at Birmingham following a run of poor results. But just how good was Wayne Rooney in his prime as a player? Well, the truth is that he was the perfect hybrid of a playmaker and a goal scorer. Rooney was as versatile as footballers come, and he could single-handedly make an impact in any team. But what are your thoughts about Rooney? How does he stack among the greatest English players of all time, and where would you rank him among the best Premier League players of all time? Top 3, top 5, or what?